Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. Today I have Casey Lee, who is a dating and relationship coach and founder of Life Partner by Casey Lee. She teaches the steps to attract and keep a high caliber partner from dating to a happy marriage. Like many women, Casey has struggled for many years to attract a high caliber partner prior to meeting her husband, but eventually she unlocked the key to attracting high caliber people, and within a few short months matched with her successful entrepreneur, retired Harvard thoracic surgeon, PhD, MPH, and former model husband. I am so excited to welcome you to the show, Casey. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, May. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. I know we talked a little bit about women who are high caliber, well educated, just a great catch, and how she can go about finding her equal partner, such as someone like how you found your great partner. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, how did you personally get into the date coaching space?
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for the introduction. So funny thing was that my career journey, I'd never thought it would lead me to where I am today, basically. So many years ago, I started my career in corporate finance. I was a manager managing billions of dollars on a daily basis, very numbers focused, very money focused type of job. And at that stage in life, I was in my 20s, and I felt that I had worked hard to kind of make myself, like you said, a catch, I felt in my eyes. And I felt that there shouldn't be a reason why I'm struggling as much as I am trying to attract the type of men that I see as husband material. And, at the time, I had no problem attracting dates. I had boyfriends, but no one really was someone that I could see that I wanted to build a real future with. And part of that is because I saw so many unhappy, miserable marriages in my lifetime that I was not about to be another person trapped in a loveless, miserable marriage. And I wasn't just going to settle for anybody so that I would not be alone, or that I felt like I aged out of the dating pool and I just had to find someone so that I could build a family with. That was not what I wanted for my future. I'd rather be alone. So basically, I struggled for many years trying to find my now husband. And it wasn't until a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, trying to figure out what I was doing wrong, how to do it right, did I find those shifts in what I was trying to achieve. And after I had managed to understand those shifts and then apply those shifts, just a few months later, I matched with my husband, who is the most high caliber man I've ever met, on top of being the most incredible, loving, supportive partner and husband.
So when you talk about aging out, what do you mean by that? Like, for a single woman out there, what do you mean when she ages out?
Yeah, so to give you a little bit about my background, so I'm a second generation Chinese American, and both my parents immigrated here to America with nothing. And so, you having that mentality growing up, being raised by very traditional Chinese parents, they envision a type of roadmap for their children, marry at a certain age, have kids by a certain age, have grandkids so that, they can brag to their kids and everything. So you have that pressure, that familiar pressure, not only from your parents, but on yourself, because my parents came here with nothing, and yet they were able to work incredibly hard, sacrifice incredibly hard to achieve a level of success in their profession and financially to afford a better future for their kids, for my sister and I. And so, we have that pressure that society, our culture puts on us. And my mom would always ask me, starting in my mid 20s, like, have you found the right partner yet? Have you found someone that you want to marry? When are you going to get married? And then nearing my late 20s, it started getting more and more intense. And she would always remind me that, you don't want to wait too long to find a good husband, because then they might all be taken, or maybe they'll want someone younger or something like that. So a lot of that inner talk was kind of driven into me. And so I felt that pressure that I had to not wait too long, especially for my circumstance. I had always wanted to have kids, and I had always been ambitious and driven in my life goals. So I would have a vision board and I would have timelines of when I was going to accomplish all of my goals in life. And I wasn't meeting that timeline for finding a husband. So I was kind of getting discouraged, and I gave up on dating a bunch of times, and I was like, I'm just going to be single forever. I don't need a husband, like I'll be fine. So, yeah.
So you mentioned research, right? What did you do personally to research and arm yourself with some knowledge to get out there to date, to find the one?
Yeah. So I love to learn. I try to my whole life, really. So in my educating self process, I read, a bunch of dating books. I read countless articles, giving you tips on dating, how to find a high quality partner. And, I had followed dating coaches and even purchased their courses, purchased their books. And I felt like and this is just me personally, but I felt like a lot of their tips and tricks were inauthentic to who I was. I am naturally an introvert. I call myself an extroverted introvert, but I'm really an introvert. I don't like crowds of people. I don't like to exert my energy in ways that extroverts would. So one of the tips and tricks that I remember one of the dating coaches taught me was to approach random guys at bars and to just start talking to them and to introduce myself. And essentially, instead of waiting for them to approach me, I would approach them. And this just felt so unnatural and so uncomfortable for me that I just felt like I had to pretend to become someone else in order to reach more men and see who would stick as my future husband. And it just didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel right for me. And so ultimately, what worked for me was online dating. I felt that instead of randomly approaching men that I had no idea if they were already in relationships, I had no idea if they were even interested in dating or if they were even looking for marriage, to just throw a wild card and just to start chatting with someone random. And instead, online dating gives you the beauty of screening someone first, because your written bio will usually state what you're looking for. You'll get a sense of who this person is and what they're trying to attract. And it's a very low rejection way that you don't necessarily need to stick your neck out in real life to approach someone and to spark a conversation and spark a dialogue. So my education in the past, basically everything that I learned and everything that I read wasn't helpful to me. And it was really, my mom was the OG dating and relationship coach for me. She's the one that really taught me a lot of what I know today and has worked. And, it took a little while, because she is a traditional woman, for me to accept and absorb that knowledge and to really apply it, because I thought, well, she's kind of old school. I don't know if that would really apply to me today, but it did.
So what are some things your mom told you that you thought, no, mom, that's OG. Things don't work like that now. This is, the 2000s. Like, what are some things that you remember that stuck out in your mind that she suggested you do, and you're like, no, okay, but you tried it and it worked?
Yeah. When I was desperate, I was like, I'll try anything. I don't care anymore. I'll try it. So actually the biggest shifts that helped me attract my husband today was the advice that my mom gave me about online dating and how to represent myself in a way that would attract the type of man that I wanted. So I live in Southern California. You used to live in Southern California. We kind of understand some of the pressures that women face in this type of culture, in this type of environment. A lot of emphasis is on your appearance, is on youth, is on your physique. And, like cosmetic surgery and facial treatments and all of that stuff is very heavily emphasized here, because appearance seems to be important really here. So When I did my research on how to put together an online dating profile, I would just try to emulate what other women were doing because they looked attractive and maybe they were getting success in attracting men that they wanted. So I would stalk other women's dating profiles and see what they were doing. And I kind of just took a little bit here and there of what I seemed to think would work for me. So long story short, I had professional hair and makeup. I hired a professional photographer. I wore, appropriate, but, attractive looking dresses that were tighter. And I would pose for the camera and have these professional pictures, and I would post them on my online dating profile, and just, write a bio that seemed to fit with that. And what ended up happening was I was attracting really superficial men. And my last boyfriend before my husband kind of treated me more like an object than a person. And it didn't really register and click with me until my mom pointed it out. And how she even viewed my online dating profile was just completely random too. It was just one of those other conversations where she was like, have you met anyone yet? How's your dating life? Have you found a husband? And I was like, no, I haven't. I'm still looking. I'm not going to rush myself just to force myself to marry somebody. And so she was like, show me your online dating profile. I want to see what it looks like. I'm curious how you're representing yourself. And so I was like, okay, here you go. And then she was like, and you have to understand she's, a traditional, very direct immigrant Chinese American woman. And then she was like, this looks fake. You look fake. Like, what? Why are you posting these pictures? Like, the type of men you're attracting are going to be superficial, like you're doing this all wrong. And I was like, well, then how am I supposed to be doing this? And so she was like, well, what happened to all those, vacation pictures you had in Europe? You look natural. You look pretty. You look like you were having fun. Why aren't you using those? And so at that point, I was just kind of like, all right, whatever. I'll try anything at this point. And so she edited my online dating profile. She hand selected the pictures that I posted. They were very natural looking of me. I had natural looking makeup, natural looking hair, natural clothes, natural poses. I was having fun. I didn't have a plastered smile on my face. I wasn't posing. And then she, proofread my bio. And then poof, a few months later, I matched with my husband on Bumble.
So your mom, she could read and write in English and speaks English?
Yeah, she has a master's degree.
Okay. Because I'm picturing my mom doing my online profile. I'm like, there's no way I would trust my now 83-year-old mom who doesn't speak English, doesn't even know how to take photos with an iPhone. She doesn't even have an iPhone. But I was like, what? That's amazing that your mom took the time. Actually, that's really nice to take a look at your profile and see like, okay, what kind of person will she be attracting? And this does go back to the topic that I brought up in the podcast before, where the type of men that are paying attention to you online, that want to get your attention, that are winking at you, that are emailing you or picking you or swiping right on you, it's based on what your profile attracts, right? It depends on your photos. So it also goes the other way. Like, instead of attracting all these guys that like you in these skimpy little dresses, if you aren't cute and attracting not cute guys, you got to change your profile, right? You got to maybe update your image a little bit, or take different photos or different types of poses. And so all that can be navigated with different types of photos, I believe. But man, kudos to your mom for helping you with that. So what did she change? Made the photos more natural, and then she changed your bio, like your profile, like what you wrote. Like, how does she change that stuff up?
Yeah, I mean, I think her biggest help was in selecting my pictures. I think the bio, she didn't really tweak too much. I think for the most part, I was pretty honest in saying that I was looking for something meaningful. I was looking for my life partner. And that's something that I always advise my students as well, is to be authentically you, like in order to attract what you want, you have to be honest with what you're portraying. So don't say like, oh, I'm just looking to see what I can find. Say like, I'm looking for my life partner. I'm looking for a meaningful relationship. I'm not looking for just anyone, or like, and those people who are looking for something casual and looking for a hookup will usually give signs or say something along those lines. Like, I'm just looking to have fun. I'm just looking for nothing serious, So in my written bio, I had said that I was looking for a life partner to spend my life with, to share in happy memories, something along those lines. And, it's interesting kind of what you're touching upon, May, about, women in skimpy dresses and, what they attract by portraying themselves in that way. And I think, as women, and this is like a topic that I had posted about before, and I did get some backlash by some women about, me trying to guide them in what to wear and how to represent themselves online. And some women were kind of just telling me, well, I should be able to wear whatever I want, and the right man will like me for me. And that's true. But, we as women are such chameleons with our look, with our wardrobe, with our makeup. We can look like we're going to Coachella one day, but then look ready for the office the next day. They're both authentically versions of us, but we can change it up to make it appropriate for the environment or for the purpose that we're trying to achieve. So, like, I could look like I'm going to Coachella if I wanted to, but I can also look like I'm trying to attract a man that will love me for me in my more natural state. And so, and this is something that I had asked my husband about, because as you read in my bio, my husband is a former model, and, he worked for brands like REI and New Balance, and he was a print and commercial and catalog model. He wasn't a runway model or anything like that. And that, there's different criterias for both different types of models. And so he had experience working with other female models because they would shoot joint campaigns together. And maybe it's because of his experience working in that industry that he's able to see through the facade. He's able to see through the heavy makeup, the perfect hair, the cute outfits, all of that. And instead, what he was desiring was someone down to earth, someone natural in her look, in her appearance, in her beauty, and someone who wasn't afraid to show that to the world. And so I guess it really just depends also on what the man is looking for, because there are some men who do really care about wanting to date a supermodel or supermodel look. But like I had mentioned before, your version of your high caliber partner will be different than someone else's version, or this person's version. So yeah, I just kind of want to throw that out there.
Very good points. Very good points. When you say high caliber partner, what are some of your female clients looking for? What is their definition of a high caliber partner?
Mm-hmm. So, I think it goes without saying that any partner that you settle with needs to treat you well, needs to genuinely love you, needs to want to understand and meet your needs as a partner. I think that is the foundation of any healthy, happy, long-term relationship or marriage. And then whatever you desire on top of that is what would make sense for you to find a high caliber partner. So that's your definition. So for me, I of course wanted to find someone that I loved, that loved me back, that we had great chemistry, we had a great emotional connection, that we were friends, that we, maybe we started out as romantic partners, but we became best friends. But then on top of that, I was looking for a certain level of ambition. That to me is attractive, maybe as a woman, and I think to a lot of women, that a high achieving man has a different mindset, has a different psychology, and he's always striving to become better in all areas of his life, not just his profession, because he has set certain standards for himself to want to achieve. And for me as a woman, I find that sexy. I find that really desirable. Partly because, I was raised a certain way and my parents achieved a certain level of ambition and success. And so I admire that in them. And therefore, when I'm looking for a husband, I will also be attracted to that type of mindset, to that type of psychology. So, I had dated doctors in the past. I had dated entrepreneurs in the past, but they could not meet my needs and they were not good partners. And that is why the relationship ended, because I wasn't willing to chase after just their career or a certain status that they carried. I was looking for the total package. And the total package for me was a great partner, someone that I loved, someone that I was wildly attracted to, while also having achieved a certain level in his life.
Very nice, very nice. So are you everything that your husband was looking for as well? Like, are there certain things that, well, I wish she was this, or I wish she was that? Like, are there certain things that you were more forgiving when you were dating?
So is your question, is my husband everything I was looking for, or am I everything that my husband was looking for?
Both.
Good question. So I'll tell you that when I was in my 20s, and most people might think I'm crazy, but I wrote a list of everything that I wanted in a husband. And this was part of my vision board. Maybe some people might think that, I was too picky or unrealistic. And actually, my mom called me this. She said, "You're unrealistic. There's no man that has everything on this list, and you need to compromise. You need to consider what's out there and find what is the next best thing," basically. But when I read my list, and I remember I reviewed it carefully, a lot of what was on my list were non-negotiables for me. Actually, everything on that list was a non-negotiable for me. I wasn't going to marry someone who didn't want to be a father or couldn't be a good father. I wasn't going to marry someone who, treated me poorly. It's just like certain traits like that are that important that you cannot just be like, cross out, like he's got everything else, but I'm just going to cross this one out. And so my husband has everything on that list. And I even remember recalling pulling that list out and being like, that's why I call him my unicorn, because he's someone so rare that I never thought I would ever find after all of my years of struggle in dating, all of the heartbreaks that I had. I was so jaded when I met my husband. I was just ready to be alone. And I just was I didn't really care, to be honest. I was just like, whoever I meet is whoever I meet. I'll just give it a try. But he is everything that was on my list. And then on the flip side, I had asked my husband what he was looking for in a partner. And he didn't have a list. So he was a lot more lenient in his criteria for a partner. But overall, he had told me, he really values intelligence in a woman, independence, being able to care for herself, independent of anyone else, whether that's having the right life skills, having the right relationship skills, and having the right financial acumen to manage your finances correctly. And then he had also mentioned, someone loving, someone caring, someone nurturing, someone who wanted to be a mother, someone who is ambitious in certain areas, but also, is very loving at home. So she's not just hard, steely exterior all day, every day in work and in her home life. She knows how to make those shifts to be, hardcore businesswoman during the day, but then a loving, caring, nurturing wife at night. I'm sure there are other things I'm trying to think that come to mind, but for the most part, that's what he was looking for. And someone that shared similar goals, similar life values, similar worldviews, and someone that he could relate to from a culture standpoint.
So speaking of nurturing, do you advise your clients on different ways of being nurturing? Like, what do you mean by being nurturing?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to understanding feminine and masculine energy. So when you think back to evolution, our caveman days, and those instincts are still ingrained in us. No matter how many centuries have passed, those instincts from the caveman days are still innately in us. So as a man, most men feel that they have the responsibility to provide and protect for their family. And that looks different for everybody. You can provide and protect financially, you can provide and protect physically, you can provide and protect emotionally, but those are the triggers that help him operate from a masculine energy standpoint. For a woman, back in the caveman days, we were the childbearers, we were the foragers. We weren't necessarily out there taking our baby with us with a spear trying to catch our prey. That's not what our evolution was. So we as women, our feminine energy is a little softer. It's more nurturing, it's more loving, it's more affectionate, because those are the qualities that you need to take care of a small defenseless infant. So I feel that a lot of times that still applies in today's world. And a lot of how I see successful women struggle in their dating life is that they are, awesome. They're a rock star in the boardroom, and they can, outsmart any man in the room. And you have to be fearless. You have to be a harder exterior to survive in that corporate or entrepreneur or business environment. But they tend to think that that is also how you need to operate in a personal relationship. So she'll still be kind of hard-edged in a sense, because she feels like she needs to fight. She needs to protect what's hers. And she needs to show a man that I don't need you and I don't want you, but, if you desire me, then maybe I'll give you a chance or something like that. Versus, what a man is desiring in a woman might be, he just wants her to be nice to him. He just wants her to be loving, affectionate. And all of that requires you to not be so hard, cold, steely. And I think I do believe that that is what my husband really appreciates in me. And I'll give you an example, but I also don't want to ramble, so I'll pause there.
Well, you mentioned that men don't want a woman who's so hard and so steely. So what are some things that a woman can do to soften their personality and their partnership with a man?
I feel that, and this comes from experience and comes from knowledge and where I am today, but when you meet someone that you really trust, that you really feel secure in, and this applies to men too, you feel that you don't need to put up this facade that you're so tough, that you're so, I don't need anyone, I don't, like, I can do it alone, I don't need you, kind of thing. But when you are with someone that you really trust, you can lower down your walls, you can be truly vulnerable. At your core, you are soft, you are loving, you don't feel the need to fight someone all the time. And what you'll realize, and what you may see in other couples, is like couples who feel that way with each other, they'll have like a playful, childlike way of speaking to each other. It's almost like a secret language that they have that no one else understands. They'll have cute little nicknames for each other. They'll make believe words that only their partner understands because it's cute, it's adorable. And it's almost like we revert back to a childlike sense of play because we feel safe with our partner and we don't feel like they're going to judge us like we're weird, as if like you were to go up to some random person and call them some cutesy little name, they would be like, what are you doing? Like, no, but So when you feel safe with a partner, you are naturally soft. You are naturally warm. You're naturally loving. And I remember I made a post of this about how when men feel safe around a woman, he doesn't feel the need to be strong all the time. He doesn't feel the need that he always needs to protect and fight off intruders or fight off enemies and to, put up a facade like I'm strong, I'm capable all the time. You know, when he comes home, he just wants to be loved. He just wants to be cuddled. He just wants to be held. But he won't admit that to the world. But to that special woman, that is what he wants.
Very good. Very good. So what's your typical female client that you work with? Can you give me an example? Like no names, but just what they're about, who they are, where they live, just give me an example of who your ideal client would be to help.
Yeah, I would say like the ideal client, her mindset and where she's gotten in life is essentially, me 10 years ago. So, she's tried it all in dating. She hasn't succeeded. She's gotten her heart broken numerous times. She doesn't understand what she's doing wrong. And she's at a point where she's willing to give it another shot and to see someone as a role model who has achieved something that she wants and is willing to learn from her. That is usually, like, in a nutshell, what my clients look like. They vary in age. Some are divorced, some have children from a prior marriage, some are, just working women who haven't really devoted much time to focusing on relationships and attracting a partner, and they kind of realized after they achieved a certain level of career success that it's time to kind of switch gears and to put some more time and effort into their love life. And they kind of also, they want a shortcut. Dating is not easy. It's not easy to go through so many breakups and deal with grief from a breakup every time, and then to jump back in the wagon to risk it again. And so they kind of, essentially, I would love, and I am teaching everything I know that of the do's, the don'ts, and the shortcut to get to where I am today.
So what are some ways for you to suggest for women out there who just got through a horrible breakup, they're grieving? What are some tips that you can share with them to expedite this grief period so it's shorter for them?
Oh, breakups are never fun. Oh my gosh. And I remember, like, I can still remember my last breakup and how tormenting it was. So I mean, whether it's you were completely blindsided by the breakup and it wasn't initiated by you, or maybe you initiated it knowing that this was the best thing to do for your future, it's never easy. And it's a feeling of loss, like something died in your life almost, because you're grieving not only the intimate partner that you were so close with, but you're grieving the future that you could have had with them. And so looking back and what worked for me, number one, reach out to your trusted group of family and friends, your support network, and tell them, confide in them that I just broke up with someone and I really need you to be there for me in life. It might be uncomfortable for you to do that, but you need to make those aware that you're in a very vulnerable and weak state right now. And I may call you at midnight because I just am in such a terrible state right now that I cannot be alone and I need to talk to somebody and I need to, like, let those emotions out. So that's number one, finding a strong support network to rally by your side to uplift you when you feel so down. Number two, it's unhealthy to keep all of those emotions bottled up inside. You need to be able to release them in a cathartic way. Otherwise, it's going to eat you up inside and it's going to prevent you from healing faster. So For me, I would be at home at the time and uncontrollably sob, and I would just let it out, let that grief, let that pain, let that emotion out. And then afterwards, I'll feel a little better. And same thing, scream into a pillow or take a hot shower and just cry and let that water just wash away that grief, that pain, that loss, and you'll feel better afterwards. And then also, I think not everyone has a strong support network. Not everyone has trusted family and friends that they can turn to, that they feel safe with. So the next best thing would be to Google. Google how to get over your ex or how to get over a breakup. And you'll find so many resources to make you feel less alone. There are websites dedicated to helping you get over a breakup that make you feel like someone else understands where I've been. Or Reddit, forums. People post all the time, like, how do you get over a breakup? And people will chime in and give advice, or I know what you're feeling like. I'm going through that right now. It'll make you feel less alone. And that's one of the main feelings that you feel when you break up, is that you feel completely alone. And then I would say the other tips would be, and this is something that I did a lot, is just wrap yourself in a warm blanket, get some comfort food, turn on a movie marathon, cuddle with your dog if you have a dog, or cuddle with a friend if a friend wants to do that with you, a platonic friend, not a romantic friend. And I always caution, don't hook up with anybody, because that will tend to trigger feelings of when you were with your ex, and it will hurt your progress in healing and moving on. And of course, you can advise someone to not stalk your ex, but they will usually do it anyway. Just try to your best for self-control, and just do things that make you feel good, like get some fresh air, go on a walk if you can. And day by day, it'll get easier. It always does.
How do you know when you're ready to date again after you've gone through all the grieving, the nurturing yourself, trying to get back into it? How do you know, what, I think I'm ready to date again?
Mm-hmm. I think that you know yourself best. And when you feel back to your normal self, you feel whole again. It's been months or many, many weeks since you last thought about your ex, let alone stalk their social media. I think that's when you know that you're on the right path and you're at a point in healing where you can consider getting back out there. Everyone is different. You may feel whole again, but still really, really scared of putting yourself out there, putting your heart on the line, only for it to get stomped on again. So everyone's different. You'll feel like it's the right time for you when you feel brave enough. You feel whole enough, you feel brave enough, and you haven't thought about your ex for a very long time, many weeks or many months.
So in your opinion, what are the 2 best apps for people to try online dating?
Yeah. I'll give you more than 2, but I'll give you my top 2.
Okay.
And this has worked for my prior students, myself, friends. Of course, I always promote Bumble because that's where I met my husband. But Coffee Meets Bagel was another one that I like. Match.com, OkCupid, eHarmony. Those are some that I know of have had success stories with meeting their partners or their spouses.
Okay, you gave us 5 good ones, so hopefully people will try them out. How many online dating sites should a single person be on at once? 1 of them, 2 of them, all 5 of them? Like, what do you suggest in your professional experience?
Yeah. I would say stick with the top 2 that you connect with the most, that you are attracting the type of person that you're interested in conversing with. I tried all of them, but the top ones that I really liked and that I was attracting higher caliber people were Bumble and Coffee Meets Bagel. So every app will attract a slightly different demographic. It'll attract different types of people. And you just kind of have to play around and understand yourself, and also understand where are those people that you're looking to attract and to go there.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Casey, thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell the audience how they can find you? Any last words of wisdom? And of course, I will include all of your information in the show notes, but just some last parting words or advice.
Yeah. So you can find me at my website, which is lifepartnerbycaseylee.com. That's where you'll find a plethora of information, including my free guides, which are super helpful for you. And also you can find me on Instagram, same username, lifepartnerbycaseylee.com. I'm also on YouTube with the same name. And in terms of advice, I would say only go out and date when you're in a good place, when you feel whole. If you feel broken, if you feel that you're not ready yet, don't force it, because the best type of partnership and the best type of relationship is when two whole feeling people connect, and then they meet, and then they add to each other's joy. But when you find a broken person or a whole person or two broken people, that's when you'll find a lot of codependency or toxic relationships. So make sure you work on yourself to make yourself feel whole and happy as you can as a single person, and then you will attract the right person into your life. Thank you for having me, May. It was really nice speaking to you. Fun.
I'm so glad you can join me today. And ladies, if you're out there, want to find a great guy, I would love to meet you. Please go to my website, toasiamatchmakers.com. I would love for you to register with me so I can find you and I can set you up also with a high caliber man. So thank you, Casey, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.